Have we got a message yet?
Yep.
And then I'm going to start, assuming you're starting the meeting now. John?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes. That too. And
And
you're
you
on.
know that you don't have to record now, Laura.
Yeah,
because
but we want to retain the other materials that come with recording. So John and I had this discussion.
Okay, well, I'd like to hear about this too. We don't have to do it now, but I mean, you're recording now into the cloud of the neighborhood council Zoom, which has limited space. So we can talk further about if that's feasible or if we need to increase the cloud storage.
How long do we have to have it on the cloud? Is it in perpetuity or do we delete it?
Okay, so well, yeah, we're good now. We can, and I also enabled live transcript. So we just have everything on, and I recognize, Teresa, we don't have any applicants here. So
Okay, can you guys hear me?
yes,
I hear you.
but barely.
I didn't have an answer for you. I thought Laura was going to answer that question. That's why I didn't.
I
say
didn't.
anything.
I barely heard. I didn't hear a question. John, I did not hear your question.
I can't even remember what it was. Oh,
We're
does
asking
it
about
stay on the
cloud storage. How long will it remain in the cloud? What's going to happen with that? I can't tell you that. I can answer how long the YouTube the live stream will remain in perpetuity, oh, I can't even pronounce that word.
Perpetuity.
Yes, it will be there, and we have unlimited space on our YouTube channel. We have limited space. I'm not sure. I don't think anybody else is saving
Nobody else
a
is.
recording. Yeah, and I kind of don't understand why you guys feel the need to do that, but that's, as I mentioned, a conversation for another time.
Okay. All
So
right.
you want to call the meeting? You want to do?
Yep, let's do it.
Yeah.
And John, do you want to share the screen with the agenda, or should I?
Do it.
And I can't hear your answer.
I can do it. I don't know why you can't hear me. Can you hear me?
I think it's me. I don't think it's you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. It's 7:05. Welcome to the UNNC Planning and Zoning Committee for meeting for Wednesday, August 3rd, 2022. In front of us is the agenda. First order of business is to say that yes, you're still under COVID emergency and we have to adopt whatever this is, AB 361, blah, 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 that we are still holding our meetings virtually. We don't know when that's going to change, but here we are. So welcome, we'll call to order. We can go around the room. We have all known entities today. I could introduce all of you, but let's go around the horn. Teresa, and please declare your stakeholder intent.
Yes, I'm a stakeholder, but I'm also a board member of the United Neighborhoods Neighborhood Council.
All right, thank you. Carlos.
He may have just stepped out.
Okay, Donna.
Stakeholder from West Adams Avenue. Thank you.
Okay, Laura.
Hi, I'm the co-chair of the Planning and Zoning Committee, and I am a UNNC board member, and I live in Angeles Vista.
Great. And I'm John Arnold. I'm the board member, Region 6 representative for Jefferson Park. I'm a stakeholder resident of Jefferson Park. Carlos, are you back? Okay, we'll get Carlos' introduction later. Next up, review the agenda. We don't approve the agenda anymore, but if anyone has any suggestions for any changes, please say so, like moving things around. If not, we'll move on.
John, the only thing I would say is we can if we still want to quickly review item 5, the TDM program, but as you may have seen in the email, Taylor's unexpectedly out of town.
Okay. So item number 3, public comments. Anyone have any public comment on anything that's not agendized this evening? Okay, hearing none, moving right along. Let's save our energy for tomorrow. Item number 4, we have a proposed CIS Council File 22-0560. We have, it's about lobbying procedures and disclosures for neighborhood councils. We have talked about this previously in our meetings. Laura, can you?
Yeah, if you can allow me to share the screen, if you'll let me, yes, and I will bring it up.
So we talked about this previously, and it seemed like it was a no-brainer that if you are a paid lobbyist, you must declare that when you're at a public meeting. And that is a new rule that is heading through, and we had a brief discussion.
I'm sharing the wrong thing. Sorry.
Laura can't hear me, so we're going to be talking over each other a little bit today. Laura, we'll bring this up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to stop the share because I was sharing the wrong thing.
And we do know in the past, that we have had lobbyists in our meetings, in our planning and zoning and governing board meetings. We have had paid lobbyists who have not declared, oftentimes for developers, and we've known for a fact that they've been there, and no one in the public knows about it because they haven't been required to declare. So this would, in theory, correct that.
Yeah. So what it is, this is a citywide correcting document. So in other words, the Ethics Commission ended up proposing major updates to the municipal lobbying ordinance. So this is across the board, not just related to land use. And it's a 66-page document, but our pertinent part will be page 11. But the other pertinent part is simply this first thing, that it has not been comprehensively updated since the ordinance was adopted in 1994. And one of the core issues that's come to a head with virtual meetings is that lobbyists are only required to disclose in writing. When they're doing a written commentary, then they disclose in writing that they're a lobbyist. But they don't have to orally disclose it, even at a virtual meeting. And the new Brown Act updates don't require writings and don't require that you fill out forms in order to speak. So they're trying to update this ordinance to require, because of that, because the person does not need to fill out, I wish to speak before this commission or before this body and explain who they are. That piece of paper is out the window now. They want to change it so that you have to also do an oral disclosure. And it's not just here at our committee that there's been issues. It's been at public hearings as well. So, John, you may note that there were a lot of written complaints on the 1848 Gramercy, both hearings, then followed by written complaints from neighbors that people had misidentified themselves that as a neighbor when in fact they were the realtor representing the applicant or a historic consultant who is employed by the applicant. And they never said those things. They just said, I am a neighbor. They didn't give their own addresses. So that's the broad background. On page 11, if you can see that there's now a section on the neighborhood councils, which obviously didn't exist in 1994. So the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners and Dunn are very much in support of this, adding this section. And again, this isn't just for the land use committee. This would be at the governing board, at anywhere. Someone should be saying, I'm here because I've been paid to communicate with you. That's why I'm here, whoever I am, because I'm paid to communicate with you. So this is, this new section would require just that. That anybody who's a representative would be required to disclose it early. Yes, John?
What is the punishment or enforcement mechanisms?
Ugh.
And how can we enforce it in real time at our meetings? For example, can we ask outright, like we do, please state your stakeholder status? Can we then say, are there any lobbyists among us today or any paid? What can we do to do it in the moment so they don't derail meetings?
Well, I don't know, because it's somewhere in the 66-page document. So I guess you're going to ask the question again tomorrow night and I will have the answer. I mean, what's the punishment?
Or even just so we can just know and say, do something that Donna isn't going to have a fit about, that we can say, is there a lobbyist here? So we know, when, rather than going through a meeting, having people testify and then have to go backwards, especially when we know there's lobbyists, how do we call them out? And or else,
Yeah, because I'm seeing, as I'm scrolling back upwards, registered lobbyists register, right? They pay a fee, they file quarterly, but neighborhood councils don't receive that document. So maybe one of the things that we should be asking for, noting that we already published a draft CIS, we can change it, but maybe we would want to suggest that all neighborhood councils receive the quarterly reports, the filings. Teresa has her hand up.
Teresa?
Thank you, Laura and John. In the beginning of our meeting, when we ask individuals to identify their stakeholder status, can we also say at that time, and please identify if you are representing a developer or something like that? I mean, we can ask the question. I mean,
Yeah, I just don't want to run afoul, because you know how fussy Dunn is with stuff. So say there's a entity that has a property interest for a case, developer, doesn't matter. They have a property, they have something that they have an interest in, financial interest. I guess we can, it doesn't just say, because people can be here to be a stakeholder and they can advocate for themselves as a stakeholder. They could also be a stakeholder and a lobbyist. But I think as we do at meetings, we say, I am not speaking on behalf of UNNC. I'm speaking on behalf of myself as a resident of the neighborhood. We could have maybe have a similar, especially when we think of something someone in the audience, say, if you're please say if you're speaking on behalf of yourself or speaking on behalf of an entity who has an interest in this case, and if you're being paid for that. Maybe that's the simple question.
Well, okay, so I just highlighted something I found, as I'm scrolling. The Ethics Commission is recommending, and this I think seems to relate more to political fundraising, but it's a nice phrase, requiring contemporaneous disclosure. So that's that's our interest. I don't think we want to limit that to, are you being paid to be here tonight? Because our experience is sometimes people will come not paid to be there that night, but paid in a broader sense by the applicant because that's a client. And it's an ongoing client, but they're there for free at our meeting. So it's not about being paid to be at the meeting or even being paid on the application. It's more, for me, I think it's more aligned to the same thing we need to do, which is disclose if we have any sort of relationship that might be a conflict. So we're not asking lobbyists to declare conflicts of interest, because that's also a kind of term of art, but it's that, have you or will you represent any applicant? And I feel like that would have to be at the time of the particular item, because it may be that someone, just like John, you could go to some meeting and you're there because you're representing a client on one item, But now there's another one that you're interested in, and if they're open, like we are, to comments, you might make a comment on another one. So you're not a lobbyist for the other one.
Yep.
Right? But you're a representative for one thing. So I think it's narrowly for the item, not for the meeting.
So
I don't
maybe,
know.
I don't know, in our, so let's go to our motion. I'm gonna make the assumption that we'll probably move, because that's the tone of the conversation last time, to support this. But assuming that we do that, I don't know if there's an opportunity for us to say, we recommend or request guidance on how to enforce this if this passes.
Right.
Or we would just wait for it to pass, and then we decide at this committee how we move
How
forward,
we implement.
how we implement it. So
Right. So in other words, I think I want to stop this year. If you could bring the
Yep.
agenda back up. I'm losing. Okay, I'm stopping the share. You can bring the agenda back up and blow it up, because we have the proposed community impact statement on the agenda. We can edit it, but I can't read. You need to blow it up to a larger size.
You see that?
So what appears also on the governing board are these two paragraphs. The first one's sort of a preamble, and then the proposed draft CIS to recommend to the board is the second paragraph. Therefore, UNNC supports. I don't know that we need to have a community impact statement that has many more details than that.
I agree. This covers it. I think we should just, I move that we adopt this, recommend this to our governing board tomorrow, and then for future, not part of my motion, that we discuss it, how to implement it in our meetings.
I'll second that.
Okay, anyone have any input? Donna, Carlos, Laura? So
I'm typing the motion into the chat.
So let's read. Therefore, UNC supports the revision to the city's lobbying ordinance, and in particular the section dealing with neighborhood councils, to help ensure that paid representatives will disclose orally, as well as in written communications, that they have a relationship with an applicant. The issue is transparency. Every UNNC member, and every UNNC board member has the right to know when a person speaking on an item has been paid to lobby. I would say advocate. Is advocate and lobby, are they synonyms? This update to the MLO is a step in the right direction. So I move.
Yeah.
That we support
So did
that.
we want to remove the word paid to lobby, or change it, paid to lobby or represents a client?
I would say pay to lobby, advocate, or represent a person with an interest in the case before us. Whether it's a client or a neighbor, or the neighbor doesn't. And I think anyone who has been financially coaxed to support whatever that, I could pay everyone in my neighborhood $20 if they show up at this meeting and pack the house, so I can get an addition on my house.
Yeah. Did you do you see what I just put in the sort of proposed amendment?
In the chat.
In the chat.
Hold
I wrote what I think you wrote: paid to lobby, advocate, or represents a person with an interest in the outcome.
I would say might be a financial interest, because we all have interests, financial or property interest in the outcome. It has to be something. It has to do with property, and that's one of our biggest powers, is we affect people's property values and rights. Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so that's what I just put up.
Yep, I accept that change. Teresa?
I accept the amendment also.
Any other input? Donna, Carlos, Laura?
No, I'm good, guys.
Great. Okay. Let's call the vote. All those in favor of the motion in the chat to adopt this CIS resolution, or recommend to the board that we adopt it with the changes in the chat regarding defining lobby, advocate, or representation of someone with financial or property interest in the outcome. Everyone in favor, please say aye. That looks unanimous.
Yeah.
You want to-
Laura co-host is not voting.
Yep.
Because that'd be me.
Yes, I agree.
Me voting twice on two computers. I'm not doing
So
that.
that's unanimous. 5-0. Great.
So on the TDM, I can pull up the fact sheet, but like I said, Taylor went to the meeting, but then he's out of town. So I feel we're not gonna, I mean, I can pull it up, but you have to unshare.
So we're going to item number 5?
Yeah, aren't we?
Okay. So item number 5, Laura, what's the time?
Yeah, I mean,
on that?
the comment letter's due on the 15th, so I feel like this is not gonna happen.
Mhm.
And of course I don't really, oh, here, wait a minute. Let me grab it. I can talk and grab at the same time. The only thing is it's a very complicated, I'm having trouble getting controls back on the Zoom, to be honest. Figure out how to do this. I'm still here. I still see you and Teresa, but I'm not seeing the rest of the meeting.
We see the LADOT transportation
Oh,
demand.
wow. So it's just shared itself. Okay, good. So that's why I can't see anything else. So essentially, it's very complex. It's a part of the mobility plan, and it's for certain kinds of developments, they have to meet certain transportation demand management program elements. And Taylor, it's bicycles, it's car shares. The whole point of this is to reduce drive alone car trips and increase the number of options available at project level. So each project will have a point system, and so it only applies to, everything else is exempt. So it applies to housing of 25 units or more. It applies to affordable housing once it hits 50 plus units, hotels, employment offices at 25,000 square feet, retail, 50,000, medical, 50,000, warehouse, 25,000, arenas, schools, colleges. So John, you would have a better idea of that, I think, than the rest of us. If, for example, you're building an office, is 25,000 square feet a lot or a little?
That's not insignificant.
So
Pretty fair. It's sizable. You can imagine it's 25 or 20 of our houses. So that's sizable.
right. So do we get this size of project?
We do all the CIM projects on Crenshaw and the project down on Expo that Sweet Greens is doing. All those would be above this threshold.
Okay. So so then they would have to comply with this program. So the question would be, why are they not including in the program? My question would be, and my only question, frankly, would be, what we always require, which is, so where do the ride share pick up and drop off areas? Where are they? How does this project accommodate Uber, Lyft, but not just that, the medical, for seniors, where the medical van or car takes you to the hospital and back. I mean, the grocery shuttles. I mean, all of those things don't seem to be a part of this.
Unless they are, they just are spread out for each one. But my question goes, what are the points? I don't know the answer is to that, Laura.
I know that's the problem. This is Taylor's thing, and he knows all about it, and he was going to tell us.
Yeah.
And so the only letter we could possibly, and then it didn't end up on tomorrow night's agenda anyway, as a called out item. So I feel we're not going to be able to write a letter.
Yeah, I agree. Is there anything controversial though?
Taylor said there was not. So that's what I'm saying. I'm sort of now limited, since I don't know enough about it, to my one question. And then the other question I have is the same one I had asked CIM. was it CIM? I mean, I think it was CIM, which is, why are you only doing the minimum amount of electric car charger plug-in stations? Remember that they weren't trying to meet the goal of by year 2035, that's the only kind of cars we're going to have in your parking structure. And instead they were meeting the current floor instead of thinking it through as to how many they really need. And I don't know if the TDM program has anything to do with that either. So, so those are, I think, our issues, which may or may not intersect the TDM. And I do feel it wouldn't be a problem for us to write a letter of inquiry that wasn't, it's not a position statement. I don't know that we'd have to have it approved by the whole board. I do think we can't write such a letter without it being approved by the whole executive committee. But a letter of inquiry is kind of more normal. It's just reaching out to planning.
And that can be after the fact, Teresa?
Thank you, John. I would like to have to wait until Taylor returns so we can have further discussion. And then maybe at that point, we can discuss if we want to follow up with a letter, or if, and especially since this doesn't appear to be too controversial, then maybe it's best if we wait.
I agree with that, Teresa. I think that we would most, if it passes, we want to know how we bring it up, apply it, ask about it, and be intelligent with people who apply in our region about how they're addressing it. And just so we know what we're asking about rather than asking ballpark questions.
Right. And then the other thing is this August 15th deadline is to provide written comments relative to the open house and public hearing that happened last night. But I'm seeing, if you can see the screen, there's the adoption process includes going to the Planning Commission. This August 15th is not the deadline for us preparing a letter for the Planning Commission.
Okay, great. So we have some time. So
Okay.
I say we shelve this and wait for Taylor to come back and give us some skinny. Great. Okay, let's move on. Item number 6. So last time we started sketching out our goals. We had a pretty good list going, and then we thought we'd wait for Taylor to come back. And
no, but he gave us his.
Okay, good.
So I'm resharing the screen, and this is what we came up with. Can you see the screen?
So this is what we came up with last time. Thank you, Laura, for
Correct.
archiving.
Right. This is what you emailed me or put in the chat or something.
So obviously, hearing and reviewing cases is a bulk of our kind of powerful work that we do. All of our work is powerful. Education engagement, such as Planning 101, and just having information session.
Oh, by the way, John, I forgot to tell you, we're presenting at the Neighborhood Council Congress of Neighborhoods.
So we were accepted.
We were accepted.
Excellent. We'll have an update at the last item on that. Effectively contributing to ongoing policies, like we just had, contributing to CISs. We've had some on wood policy, housing elements, the Mills Act. So just always contributing our voice. Proactive projects in UNNC policies, such as the tree policy that Teresa proactively put together, and we've had it on Washington streetscape. And of course, the oil was partly reactive, but the actions were very proactive. Affordable housing projects presentation for this year. That is having goals that we want to have measurable goals as well, about things that might be really helpful in this point in time for us to do. One was a presentation on housing.
And John, what we had discussed more specifically, because Teresa wasn't present, I'm not sure if everyone was at whatever, sometimes we have down weeks where we don't have any cases, to ask PATH and Hollywood Community Foundation and Abode and the others who are building in our community to come all together to one meeting and present where they are in a meeting where we don't have a case to process.
Engaging in outreach with UNNC. Laura, what was our idea on
Well, the some neighborhood councils have a door hanger program, and I'm using the word door hanger. It might be we're having a meeting tonight, but they have something that goes up in neighborhoods when there's a development in their neighborhoods. So I thought we could do some research and see what the other ones are doing. I mean, we're awfully large. We probably don't want a real door hanger program, but that kind of outreach to let people in the community know a development is proposed in their block, in their immediate neighborhood. And I don't know if we have the bandwidth to do it, and it would probably involve a budget request.
And then just to put a number on it, I think we meet this goal yearly, at least, to write at least 4 proactive CAS or CS type input statements regarding city policy. I think we probably approach 5 or 6 a year.
Right.
And then Taylor's, whenever.
Well, he liked that one, so he added, he wanted 4 more, but related to, well, this is what he wrote, support, or he wrote detraction, but I think he means opposition for transportation related policies and projects. And we still don't have any input from the oil drilling subcommittee.
We do have a reference to oil up above.
Yes.
I don't know if there'd be any goal that's not reactive, but unless there's a
Well,
policy goal to, I guess we can't.
well,
campaign
their
to do something.
their mission, meaning when the subcommittee was established, was to actually track citywide oil legislation. And they also were advocating initially to have the creation of the, I don't remember the exact title, but the oil czar position at the city. And then it was filled, and now it's empty again. So, I would think they should have some, this is all stemming from our new president, Greg Jackson, requesting that the committees set some goals that might be measurable. So I think, honestly, it's not a bad idea to ask Steve and Chris to set some goals that might be, or at least one goal that might be measurable.
Yeah. I don't know what that would be.
I don't know what it would be, but I mean, just,
because
it's just not a bad idea.
Can't take a position like our goal is to make sure that, X amount of oil is pumped out of our neighborhood per year, or X number of wells are closed this year. We can't be that. We have to be.
No, I don't think either of our co-chairs are those people anyway, but there's a couple hands raised. I can't see them. I can just.
It's Teresa.
Yeah, thank you, John. The other hand is UNNC, Laura.
Me?
Yes.
How did I raise? Oh, because I was voting. I never unraised it. Sorry.
To be quite honest, I don't think for this year it's necessary to have the oil drilling subcommittee submit any particular goals. We just came off of, an ordeal with their hearings, these past few months. So I think with this next year, I'm not sure we really need them to submit anything.
So that says to me, let's get this done. I agree with that. Let's make our goals for the year, and we can always
here we are.
We can always abridge them if there's a kerfuffle.
So are you saying you make a motion to adopt this document?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can
Do I need to?
tidy up some of the language and group them in a way that makes sense, but yeah.
Yeah. How about this?
I second.
Can I change detraction to opposition?
Sure.
Like I just did?
And I think we can do the measurable one, we can do the general ones, which are responding to, and I think if we group the measurable ones, because we can't say we will hear 6 cases, we just don't know.
I don't think we need to go that far in the weeds. I think we're good.
Wow, Laura.
I know. Well,
Gotta stop me from getting in the weeds.
I am being, can I say, I'm being collaborative. I am
Ouch.
not sure we will effectively be able to, we'll be able to achieve our goals because we're a committee that's been in place for 19 and a half years.
Yeah.
On a every 2 weeks basis. So, we have a lot of experience and we know things. Some of our committees are really almost brand new. And I think they're just struggling to exist.
Yeah.
So
And
You know,
honestly,
so existence is a measurable goal.
I think everyone who's present in this meeting knows if we don't show up for a couple months, bad things happen.
Yes.
So we just have, we know we have to stay on, this committee has to stay active or else, you know, who knows? So I think that's why we're consistently meeting and active, because we have to.
Right. So, so I think looks good. John, you and Taylor wrote it, so, you know, I'm gonna say I support it, and I'd make the motion.
Okay.
To approve this list.
Anyone want a
If
second?
nobody else had moved it yet, I don't remember already.
I'll second.
Great. Any other discussion? Carlos, Donna, Carolyn showed up. Carolyn, welcome. Okay, with that, let's call the vote. All those in favor of adopting these for the Planning and Zoning Committee goals for the year, please raise your hand.
Yeah, apparently my hand's already up.
That's right.
So I see 5. Carolyn, right, any opposition? Okay, so that's 5. Carolyn, do you want to abstain or not vote? You don't have to answer that. You can remain silent if you wish. Okay, so the motion passes, 5 voting yes, and 0 abstentions, 0 opposed. Great, we're moving right along. Look at that, 7:39. Okay, follow up to previous cases, ENS and old business. Laura already hinted at one that we wrote a what do you call it? A synopsis, a syllabus for our planning.
Oh, right.
101 reboot.
Yes.
Laura, do you want to go on that?
Well, John and I, since 2016, have presented to UNNC or to this committee several times of what we call Planning 101, although it now has a new name. It has an actual title, not NIMBY, not YIMBY. How can we help in our own backyards, or something to that effect? So in other words, we gave it a title, and this was that our last meeting, John, or the one before? I'm losing. It was just the last meeting, I think.
Was it really?
Yeah.
You might recall we had a pretty robust conversation about
We did.
What types of things might we be concerned about. And we actually had some really good ideas, and Laura and I incorporated a lot of those into our suggestion. We'll trial drive it with the UNNC if that timing is correct. But when is that? When is that due?
Well, yeah, the actual presentation. Okay, Teresa, you're going to have to correct me. It's the Saturday that's not our anniversary. So is our anniversary the 17th or the 24th?
17.
So on the 24th of September, we will be presenting at the Congress of Neighborhoods. But
Yes, the
we're going
Congress
to
is on the
present, but
24th.
we're going to have to present before that at this committee so that we have a practice run. And
oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
I know, and you're going to be out of town, right, John, for some of September. So that almost means, well, it may be we can have a little special meeting of this committee toward the end of August,
Is this
rather than
official?
2 weeks from now.
Is this an official Planning and Zoning Committee presentation, or is this a Laura and John presentation?
Well, it would be a Laura and John presentation, but in the normal circumstances, we would give it to Planning and Zoning Committee. Anyway, we can just talk about how we present it, but the first thing we have to do is update it. We went through a long list of things we need to add at the last meeting, and that was a robust discussion. And we had captured that list. So part of our application to the Congress of Neighborhoods, we gave them the old version and said, but these are what we're adding. And so that's what's been accepted. So it's basically an educational tool. Part of it is just sort of the wonky stuff. The do we call it the ABC, the alphabet soup of planning, all of those initials. And then the rest of it is, you know, what are the new ordinances? What's the new legislation? You know, how do you evaluate? When we did it the last time at UNNC, which was October 2019, we built in showed some cases and asked everybody, fake cases, hypothetical cases, and had a interactive, how would you make the decision? And I think we will try and keep that in, but I need to check with Kay and the others if we can be at all interactive at the Congress. But I think for our own purposes, we should keep that in, right? And then skip over it if we can't be interactive at the Congress. So
Is there any way that we can involve others in the development of this? Because it kind of gives me a time stomach ache to think about how to squeeze this in between.
right. Well, we have it in a Google Drive. Well,
It needs revamping, Teresa.
I was going to say that I think it would be, I don't know if it would require a special meeting. Remember, our quorum, the governing board quorum is 13, half of that is 6, so we can have up to 6 people
Right.
meet and discuss issues. And we will not be in violation of the Brown Act. So if somebody were to say, hey, on Saturday, we need to get together and you have less than 6 people, then, or 6 people, 6 board members or less, then you can kind of work out the kinks.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially we aren't discussing anything of substance to the neighborhood council area.
Correct. But I mean, even if, let me, just to be quite honest, if it's 6 people or less, substance can be discussed.
Yeah.
But in this case, it wouldn't be, it would just be
Right.
the PowerPoint.
right. So we did run through the PowerPoint at the last meeting. And but it's unadjusted. So I think, John, what you're saying is work on the adjustings.
I think we have to
I-
more than adjust it. I think it needs to be overhauled.
Right. And I think, here's my core answer. We have the list of things we wanted to add. It's in the chat from last time because you actually typed it. Thank you. And each of the items we want to add also requires that we find an image that relates to it for the PowerPoint. So maybe what we can do, John, is see who wants to help with that piece of it, because we did create a list. I'm just trying to figure out how easy it is for me to go find it.
My mind goes to the organization of it, the practicing, the
Yeah.
keeping on message, and
Well, and finding out how long, what's the time limit for this particular
45 minutes?
presentation? Well, I don't know. We have
That
to
would not
ask
be
the
more than
question.
45 minutes.
Yeah. Because
Okay.
the other question, I don't know for the Congress versus if we were going to do it at the board at a retreat kind of thing later. At the Congress, is it a 20-minute presentation and a 20-minute QA? Or is it a 40-minute presentation and no QA because they don't trust the 1,000 people that go to the Congress to behave themselves? I mean, I just don't know. So we need some answers on that too. So I think it is okay for us to decide that we can just have off meetings, meaning not Brown Act compliant, roll up our sleeves, working meetings on this, in the next few weeks. But John, you're out of town, I thought, for a little while.
5th to the 18th
Of September. Right, so we need to do it this month.
Let me see if I can recruit one of my fine employees who knows graphics to
Okay,
put that together. That would help.
all right.
With direction, it won't take long, but it's getting that kind of.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? It's not that hard. Ours, it's pretty good. You've just forgotten. The presentation is already pretty good. It just needs a big middle section we don't have. Whatever. Okay, I think Teresa has her hand up again.
Yes, thank you. You guys may know this already, but I think kind of the standard practice is about 2 or 3 minutes per slide. So I don't know how many, we're going to have a lot of slides, or we just want to focus on certain things. And I know you just mentioned it depends on how much time we're allocated, but I do think there should be a Q&A section, because no matter how great you guys are, someone's going to have a remedial question, which, that could have been me last year asking a remedial question, or somebody may have a very, very involved question. So I think there should be a Q&A.
And I think that we have to be clear about, are we telling stories about how we have done it, or an approach, or are we being purely educational about facts, or a little bit of both? Because I think questions about what does the planning department do when this type of case comes up, is like, I don't ask the planning department, versus in that case study that you showed, how did you get from A to B?
Right.
And who did you talk to, and what do you think? Or even people can arrive with their own cases in their neighborhoods, and maybe that's It's like a
Right.
ask.
Well, it's also, so by the
And-
way, the answer is, 'cause I just opened it up at the moment, and it can't be 2 to 3 minutes per slide because it's 58 slides at the moment. But no one's complaining because we go through quickly. So, but the thing is, we personalized it a little bit to UNNC. But I think that's part of what we say at the Congress, that we're happy to share this as a raw material with any neighborhood council. And if you live in horse country, you should personalize it to your neighborhood council. You know, the problem with the Planning 101 training that the city is giving is, aside from it doesn't actually help with decision making. It's more about telling us how to be responsible citizens and not about real information and how to make decisions on real projects. So anyway, okay,
Yeah,
but John, just don't forget, we already have a good basis. So we don't necessarily need a good graphic artist, but we do need good focus and images that kind of, you know, move the story along. Anyway, so that's that update. John, we got another update this week from Michael Salmon regarding the affordable housing project on the former oil drilling site at 3rd and Washington, or 4th and Washington. And according to Michael, the net result of going to a couple of hearings on the how to remediate the site resulted in the applicant developer being told they cannot build over the capped oil well. So they need to reconfigure, redesign and reconfigure the site, because there's a certain section that God knows 15 years from now somebody needs to access, so they don't want building, you know, they don't want affordable apartments above that because they won't have access. So that's what he told us. John, were you ever able to reach?
I did.
You did or did not?
I did reach the
But
development.
what's happening with that?
So we have to make a decision on how to approach it here, because we technically have no say anymore. We've voted, and the substance of the development has not changed. The same number of units. It's the same density. It's less FAR because they can't build. They've changed a few of the units from ones to studios just to fit the same density, i.e. the number. I have seen the site plan. So we can either agendize it and talk about it, and I think it would be a discussion. I think it's an improvement. I think because it's a smaller building, there's more, I said, are there more trees? And there are, because they have a lot more space around the two corners. It's basically if you think the site plan with Washington at the top, it's kind of a long lot with the alley at the back. All the wells are at the lower left side. So all that's becoming
I'm sorry, lower left meaning east or west?
southwest.
4th Avenue side.
Correct. All the wells are very linear. They aren't just scattershot,
Right.
all in a little box. And that's what they're turning in. They're going to turn that into surface parking. Surface park. I mean, does this, I don't want to, is this, how do we want to approach this? Because we can look at it as a group and involve the neighbor and agendize it, even though we don't have an action item necessarily. Or we can talk about it right now, and I can tell you what I saw, like what I'm just
Right.
doing.
Well, when you say we already voted, actually we did already vote. And our vote included that we wanted them to have the egress at the alley and not on a driveway on 4th Avenue.
Which they've done.
And they have done?
They have done.
Perfect.
So,
and the reason is, Teresa, and anyone else who wasn't here for that, was for the future possibility of having angled parking between the alley and Washington, which would add 1/3 more parking spaces for the community to use.
So that is a change that happened. They have
Great.
not, the positioning that they need to do to avoid the wells is all towards the back. So the Washington facade looks the same. It's the full block. It's the same number of stories, has the same kind of architectural detail, and the parking is kind of parking in the back and parking in the back at the southwest one, 4th in the alley. So that's what I saw, and honestly, it will only make the building less impactful to the neighborhood to the south. And I approached it with them saying, you should come back to us. Then they sent me the site plan and they sent me an elevation of Washington. And I was like, oh, it looks kind of the same and it looks easier, better. I'm going to ask and see what we should do. What do you think we should do?
Well, I'm turning my video back on. I think if it's all good, I'm of two minds. On the one hand, I feel if we know that they've had to redesign, why are we not sharing it with the rest of the community?
Correct.
And I know the real answer is because we'll end up in another discussion about they don't have enough parking and they don't this, they don't that, and it is a done deal. But the transcript said it's a dumb deal, but it's a DONE deal. So I could go either way, John.
Teresa. What do you think?
Did you guys talk about the inclusion of trees when this came forward before?
So this is pre-trees, and I did talk when I talked to Tyler. I said, Tyler, know that in the past year, focus on trees has become bigger in the neighborhood. And I said, if you choose to come, and it's their choice, if you choose to come present to us again, please either enhance or highlight your tree program. And we showed him that when he showed me the site plan, there is a tree strip between the parking and Fourth. There's like 3 or 4 feet, and that's all has trees in it. So there's more trees because there's more space and there's more land with nothing on it. So it's better than it was before.
Did they need
What's
to?
happening in the right of way, I'm not sure. It'll be with Washington. Right.
They're already fully planted.
Yep. So I thought it was better, but this is my suggestion to Tyler, the applicant. I said, your choice whether you want to come present or not. And I told him that I would ask what is our recommendation for him. Again, he doesn't have to do they don't have to do anything.
Right. Well, we've had some.
As a courtesy, it would be good for us to know what's going on so we don't just get surprised by something. At least we can say we saw it.
And it's also something that's for the community. I mean, it's
Right.
great, you and Laura, I mean, especially since we really can't make any changes. But I mean, I walk past that lot when I go to Surface all the time. So for any of those people interested to get another or final look at what's going to be there, that would be great. And I will just say, they can do larger cutouts on Washington. I mean, I know that there's some trees there and I don't know what they are right now. It's something with a long pod on it. I can't think of what it is, but there are other things that they could do just in general to accommodate larger trees on the sidewalk side. But I'm not going to complain about that. I'm just pointing that out.
So again, because they don't have to, it would be a courtesy presentation. It'd be a listening session, and they would hear what our opinions are. Whether they act on them or not, they're not subject to an approval from us or even a recommendation of the city council because it's a done deal. But that said, I told Tyler, it's like, as a courtesy, as input, so we don't get surprised, it's a good idea. And I think they've been having a hard time with oil, with AQMD. Their whole thing for the past year has been about addressing water, oil, gases, soils. And I think they're a little beat up from the process of that. So I think their focus isn't on architecture, even though the building looks fine. Their buildings, in my opinion, Thomas Saffron's buildings always really good. It continues to look good. Donna.
I'm just happy that they addressed the encampment next to the gate and cleared some of that, because the neighbors were putting up with a lot of, on their particular property, not on the sidewalk, people were just dug in, and it added to the community's misery. So I'm glad they cleared that away. There is nothing there. And they could also look at the fact of what kinds of things go along, because there's a constant daily sidewalk sale. And as well as I actually reached out to that SLO, and he's helped us. It's very close to the school, helped us with the mobile home parking that was happening. It was very close to the school, and I'm really happy that he addressed that. But they did help the neighbors, and that they got a lot, the side of the 4th Avenue side cleaned and cleared. So now it's just trees and foliage, vegetation. So much
I will
better.
tell Tyler, I will tell the applicant that. they're
We
actually-
really, really appreciate, because I was just kind of wondering why they were letting that go on.
Mhm.
And it was something interesting. It wasn't just a camp of people. They had cars pulled up. You guys wouldn't have believed it. It was like they were doing car washes, all kinds of stuff, just on their property, because they dug in next to the fence. They weren't on the sidewalk, and then they were pulling cars up. So it was a big help. Thank you.
Great. So this is what I suggest. I suggest we agendize the address next time. And if the applicant doesn't wish to show up, I will, because I have the site plan and the rendering in my possession on my computer. I don't feel comfortable showing it now because it's not agendized. I will tell them and say, if you can either come up and present, and if you're not feeling up to that, I'm happy to present it. And then if something is contentious, or that we want answers from the developer about something that we don't think is what we bought into when we took our action, then we can ask them to come back. How's that approach?
Okay.
Okay, so let's agendize this for next time, and we'll just take a look-see, and I'll do the best I can as an architect to answer questions about what I see.
All right.
Great. Any other updates from past cases?
No.
Great. So look at that, 7:59.
I have one question, please, quickly.
30 seconds.
Abode, I know we have somebody has contact with Abode. Abode on Adams is full of graffiti. They need to take care of that.
Okay.
So I don't want
have-
to go screaming someplace, but they have so much graffiti on their fencing that can be taken care of. They're
Yeah.
still building, they're still doing,
Okay, I can relay that.
and we don't need to suffer that. Thank you, I appreciate it.
I can relay that.
That'd be a big help.
Okay, that said, now it's 8 o'clock. We're right on time for an hour. We'll see you all tomorrow night.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a
Thank
nice
you.
evening, everyone.
Everyone.
Bye,
Good
everybody.
night.
You guys are awesome. Thanks. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Okay.
Okay.
So how are you doing it now, Laura? You're just going to stop the Zoom recording now?
Yeah, well, that's a quite, well,
Just
Yeah.
stop the Zoom recording,
right.
And-
And then do I stop the,
stop the live.
okay.